Hey guys! Tonight we find ourselves drifting through the dim-lit corridors of history's quirkiest papal stories. You'll need your coziest blanket for this one. Close your eyes, or keep one open if you must, and picture the candles flickering softly on ancient stone walls, shadows swaying as if they had a dance of their own. You'll chuckle at times and probably wonder, did that really happen? You probably won't survive this story without raising an eyebrow or two in amused disbelief. Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background, and let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up in a bustling square of Rome, the sound of distant bells ringing like your alarm. Except no snooze button here, sorry. It's the late 800s, and boy, is the Vatican in for a wild ride. The cobblestones beneath your feet are as uneven as your motivation to get out of bed some mornings. And as you wander, an intricate tapestry of whispers floats around you. They speak of the Pope at the time, Formosus, whose ghost, believe it or not, had a more thrilling afterlife than most. Formosus started off innocently enough, but after his death, the new Pope, Stephen VI, decided that resting in peace wasn't on the agenda. Imagine scrolling through past emails from the ghost of Christmas past for juicy drama. He actually dug up Formosus's corpse to put it on trial. Yes, a real trial, with a judge, jury, and all. Ridiculously enough, they dressed him in full papal regalia, like the creepiest weekend at Bernie's you've ever skipped through. Onlookers watched, half in horror, half in sheer disbelief. You could almost hear someone say, "You won't believe this, but it's like medieval TikTok before TikTok was a thing." The trial's verdict was as grim as your refrigerator's light when you open it for a snack at 2 a.m., hoping to find something new. Formosus was found guilty, and his body was stripped of its title and rituals, dunked in the Tiber River, just like some bad text messages we all wish we could delete. Now, historians still argue whether Stephen's motivation was politically charged paranoia or simply a display of medieval weirdness at its peak. As you ponder this over a half-melted ice cream fantasy, it strikes you. History really knew how to stage a courtroom drama long before TV did. But here's the kicker. This whole scene of the Cadaver Synod, as it's known, led to absolute chaos in the papal succession. The spectacle weaved deeper complications into a church already tangled with power struggles. You can almost hear someone sigh at a nearby cafe, scrolling through the papal chronicles like it's their morning news app. In the tapestry of time, Stephen's act didn't stand without repercussions. It wasn't long before he himself met a sticky end, deposed, and, well, strangled. To put it lightly, Roman justice had its quirks. You sip on the thought, like cold tea left on a shelf too long, pondering how even centuries later, the ripples of Formosus's trial dance behind closed doors of dusty Vatican halls. But tonight, as you cozy into your blanket, you realize the distance of time feels like the lightest whisper, and you, a curious visitor, are simply walking through the echoes, chuckling at the oddities of our shared history. You wander along the cobblestones of your imagination, a gentle breeze carrying scents of history, as if each twist and turn whispers another tale. Through sleepy eyelids, you blink at the world of Pope Stephen VI, known for deeper intrigues than an unsent text from an ex. Stephen wasn't content just with one dramatic afterlife court case. He had a thing for upping the ante, like repeatedly opening the fridge hoping for new snack revelations. His tenure was short. Some say it was karma. Others say politics caught up faster than you can ghost someone on social media. His entire papacy feels like a late-night email you regret sending, but just can't unsend. So let's take a dreamy stroll to the next marvelously chaotic chapter. Time for a sleepy peek into the life of Pope John III. Imagine being a teenager with endless power, but without the benefit of modern distractions, like binge-watching oddly satisfying videos or endlessly scrolling through memes. John became Pope at the ripe age of 18 and a smidge. The responsibilities must have been heavier than those pointless notifications on your phone, demanding your attention while you just wish for a solid night's sleep. John the Fiend was the classic, what if I ruled the world teenager, but with actual power. His papacy was a messy soap opera. Whispers say he invented mischief in ways that had put reality TV to shame. The tales of his life are more exaggerated than grandma's stories about walking uphill both ways, barefoot in the snow. Now, here's the thing about John. He was known to throw, let's say, extravagant parties, more chaotic than your attempt at organizing your apps each January. Seriously, these weren't your typical papal audiences. He had a knack for unsettling traditionalists, and his lifestyle was often likened to that of ancient Roman emperors with less regard for, decorum. Think of waking up on a one-way train to Scandalville, which, coincidentally, is the exact ticket John XIII punched multiple times. Oaths, alliances, and rivalries swirled faster than you, scrolling through social feeds at ungodly hours. Historians still argue whether his reckless behavior was a desperate play for holding on to power or just teenage rebellion taken way too far. Either way, John's escapades were the stuff of legends, a medieval hold my chalice moment that kept everyone talking long after he'd left the papal seat. Life may imprison you with expectations, endless adulting, but John, he just threw caution and everything else to the Roman wind, which makes you wonder, as you lie there, listening to the rhythmic purr of a quiet night, what truly drove him. Could it be that power was just too intoxicating? Or perhaps the limitations of youth weighed him down like a playlist you never actually finish? John VII's papal role ended quite fittingly dramatic, allegedly struck down amid scandal, betrayal, or, dare we say, divine intervention. His life story echoes the questions whispered through the ages, like pondering the mysteries of the universe over cold pizza. Now, as the night deepens, imagine the stories echoing like soft lullabies in the corridors of St. Peter's Basilica. You delve further into these tales of misunderstood ambition, political intrigues, and bursts of colorful illicit eccentricity. It's a history cozying you from within, weaving the dreams you'll take to slumber tonight. The shadows of the ancient Vatican walls stretch and sway, a soft glow brushing against your imagination as you find yourself following another papal plot twist. This time, you're stepping into the lavish domain of Pope Leo X, a pope whose tastes were as extravagant as a tower of streaming shows waiting for your eventual binge. Leo VI, the second son of Lorenzo de' Medici, grew up under the umbrella of opulence, as decorative as those fairy lights you refused to take down. When he ascended to the papal throne, it was like an heir inheriting a kingdom built on fierce indulgence. His reign was not just a papacy, it was a Renaissance pageant, complete with art music, and more drama than you'd find in an entire season of political thrillers. Now, here's a fun fact. Leo's lifestyle resembled a never-ending festival, and he loved to throw things that weren't quite your regular office parties. He was known for lavish feasts where the glasses overflowed. Imagine your group chat the morning after, silent, yet loudly chaotic. His court literally glittered with the grandiosity of each celebrated artist and thinker's presence at his beck and call. And if you think your spending on online shopping sprees is a tad alarming, Leo made it his divine mission to outdo that by commissioning grandiose projects, selling indulgences to fund the artistry and extravagance. Yes, the sale of indulgences, an eternal theological argument. How far is too far when it comes to literally buying your way to heaven? Toss in a few golden goblets, and you might find yourself pondering whether spirituality and opulence can really share a bed without one pushing the other out. This Pope's reign was not without its critics. Historians still argue whether Leo's indulgences were more of a means to an end or a spiral he simply couldn't afford to consider. It wasn't long before Martin Luther's outrage sparked the Protestant Reformation, a ripple effect seen like that unsolicited essay-length text that starts off innocently but finds you embroiled in a greater misunderstanding. As you nestle deeper into the fabric of this lavish history, imagine the hallways of power, the hustle and bustle of Rome, with its artisans and architects sounding like whispers of creativity through the centuries. They still sing the song of Leo's excess, twinkling like the stars above an eternal night. You smile softly, pulling your blankets higher, comforted by history's candidness. The tales leave a rich aftertaste, like a melody that carries you softly. A little reminder that life doesn't need to be extravagantly perfect to be beautifully memorable. And just like that, you drift further into dreams steeped in shades of the Renaissance, vibrant and unpredictable as the Pope's own joie de vivre. You find yourself nestled into the fresh ambiance of a time when family, ambition, and intrigue intermingled to form a narrative wilder than any Shakespearean drama. Welcome into the world of the infamous Borgia family drama, starring Pope Alexander VI, a man whose life embodied plot twists fit for a binge-worthy epic. The Borgia family was like the original power couple on reality TV, with a hint of Machiavellian flair. Their saga unfolds like a series of late-night episodes, where alliances shift quicker than social media trends and betrayals lurk like emails you'd rather leave unread. Alexander VI, born Rodrigo Borgia, is the grandmaster pulling noisy strings behind decadent curtain rises. He turned the papacy into a family affair, handing out positions like candy at Halloween. What's that term? Nepotism? Yeah, they definitely invented it. He went so far as appointing his son, Cesare Borgia, as a cardinal, which might have served as an effective meme back in the day, with the tagline, "When Dad is the Pope, anything is possible." And honestly, the Borgia reputation wasn't undeserved. Murmurs of scandals, alleged poisonings, and backroom dealings were as juicy as the finest gossip. You know the kind. The type that's more rippling than the smoothest catapult into deep sleep on a stormy night. Historians still argue whether the real Alexander VI was as sinister as the legends suggest, or if his larger-than-life character has simply been inflated over time, like a never-ending group chat filled with drama. Was he just a man making the most of his time, indulging in the pleasures of power and family ties to forge a legacy? Or did he genuinely define manipulation from the throne, setting stage trends for those to follow? One quirky tidbit that makes you chuckle under cozy layers. Alexander loved spectacles, particularly lavish parties with themed masquerades that put even the grandest of costume balls to shame. Imagine you're standing in a gilded hall, masked patrons swirling around, a scene where fact and fiction waltz hand in hand, where each secret whispered is cloaked under layers of silk and intrigue. And even through the veil of controversy, you can't help but admit the Borgias stayed etched in historical timelines, enduring like those nights you stare at your ceiling and nibbling on abstract uncertainties. You find this narrative haunting, yet mesmerizing, as the night quiets into profound silence. So, with velvet shadows curling around the tales like smoke from a candle burned too long, you let the story envelop you. It leads you further into restful whispers, brushing against the edges of sleep, where history gently exhales its long-kept secrets against the tender dreams of night. Picture yourself wrapped snugly in a time warp, back to an era when the throne of St. Peter saw one of its youngest occupants, Benedict IX. Imagine this: a teenager with the keys to the papal kingdom, yet all the interests of someone who'd rather be anywhere else but ruling. Benedict took the seat not once, not twice, but 3 times, in a saga that's more boomerang than papal succession. The corridors of the Vatican, echoing with the sounds of scandals, played host to his teenage antics, painting the tale of a pope more interested in partying than papal bulls. His papacy felt a bit like setting 5 alarms and ignoring them all, intent with the best laid plans. But you kind of get the vibe that well. The snooze was his favorite button. He became pope initially due to the heavy dollop of family influence, more intense than trying to escape unsolicited Zoom call invites. His actions were erratic and impulsive. He reportedly sold the papacy like you might sell a spoofed vintage item online. That's right, you could say he was the OG of bizarre papal resignations. Historians still debate whether Benedict was a victim of his era's cutthroat politics, or simply a youth trying to live lavishly in a role that clung to him like a persistent to-do list. His resignation, reinstatement, and second coming make for a story awkwardly relatable to returning that sweater you've unsuccessfully tried to repurpose numerous times. Ultimately, Benedict was exiled after his 3rd papacy, leaving the reins for future confusion to untangle. Fun fact: running from responsibilities didn't stop there. Legend has it that post-papacy, he might have lived a hermit's life in repentance, or continued dabbling in dubious fun, like when you've sworn off ice cream, but find yourself in the aisle, just window shopping. At least that's what you tell yourself. As you ponder his youthful insouciance, wrapped in the sheer coziness of knowing time will unravel its own knotty ropes, you can't help but laugh at the paradox of popes behaving like today's restless souls. Their antics echo through the vast basilicas and sleepy night. Yet here you are, tucked in, dreaming lightly amid the history's reverberating footfalls. While the world of popes details lofty matters, Benedict IX turns the river of tradition into a side stream of quirks worth floating down, as you drift softly on a cloud-like pillow into the kind of dreams that gently blur the edges between history and reverie. Slowly, you slip deeper into an ever-peaceful, ever-entrancing slumber, where time becomes intimate in its gentle passage. Wandering through the kaleidoscope of time, you find yourself amidst the chess game of tangled power and faith in a different era. enveloped in a hive of controversy. Delve into the 1400s with Pope Felix V, a man whose papacy was more of a curious anomaly, like choosing dark mode simply because it matches your mood most days. Felix was unique in that he was an anti-pope, a term that feels like an app you download but never use, always conspicuously there on your home screen. He was elected during a period of great confusion and crisis as conflicting factions within the church wrestled to declare who held real authority. Imagine our papal friend doing everything a typical pope would do, all the while making you wonder if this was just a medieval mediatized hoax or a genuine act of defiance. Felix V's story hums through history like background music you're aware of, but never quite singing along to. His supporters were sincere in their allegiance, seeing in him a leader who could restore order. Meanwhile, Portugal treated Felix's appointment like an unread text, just hanging out there, unnoticed. Now, historians still argue whether Felix truly believed he had divine right or merely played the game to satisfy political interests, echoing the mantra of "fake it till you make it," but on a grand ecclesiastical stage. Either way, he seemed to be the answer to a question no one remembered asking. A quirky tidbit. Felix V eventually resigned, a peaceful move where he was happily granted a cardinal's hat and an abbey to retreat to, like when you gracefully exit a group chat only to lurk from afar, always near, yet comfortably distant. This papal rebellion came to an ironic yet serene end, like realizing you've been using the wrong charger all along and swapping it out for the one that blazes through, reviving your phone as well as your sanity. The papacy smoothly continued onward with unwavering firmness, an undercurrent of tranquility unfurling in its wake, creating ripples of adapted traditions, blending intrigue with resolve. Cradled by the gentle lull of night, these tales of bygone sovereignty bring whispers so soothing that they cradle you, cloak you like starlit dreams. As you float adrift to where your subconscious meanders, the echoes from past corridors blend softly into the fan's hum in your room. An age-old lullaby, your personal symphony for a peaceful night. As the calm night stretches on, you find yourself wandering into yet another captivating chapter of history. This time, we encounter the reality of cold fingers and golden rings, an era where wealth, power, and greed mixed like a chaotic cocktail, more intense than your favorite energy drink on a Monday morning. In the world of medieval popes, Pope John XXIX stands out like a grand spectacle. His papacy, in the early 14th century, painted a vivid tapestry of opulence and wealth accumulation that even today's financial magnates would find enviable. His time as pope was marked by a focus on the acquisition of riches, enough to keep Scrooge McDuck diving into his money bin of coins. Imagine walking into the Vatican, a place of prayerful silence resonating with the metallic clink of coins. A hustle and bustle akin to Black Friday sales tables from here to eternity. He was known for hoarding a tremendous amount of wealth, a treasury with coffers as deep as the philosophical debates spurred by his financial management style. And like many decisions that seem like a good idea at 3 a.m, his fiscal tactics caught national envy and suspicion. John was the man that created a money machine with church offices, yet sometimes you can't help but wonder if he kicked back occasionally, staring blankly at the amassed wealth like someone swiping the same Netflix options endlessly, unsure of what he really wanted. Here's a tidbit that's a little unusual. Among his wealth-building techniques was insisting on various dues and claims, with a level of persistence that could rival even the most persistent spam filter's struggle to keep out the unwanted emails. The scholars of today still argue whether John was a man ahead of his time, understanding some nascent principle of financial autonomy, or someone whose actions were dicey enough to hang him in the tapestry of controversial financial misdeeds. Either way, his papacy set more tongues wagging than an influencer with an ambitious selfie campaign. But there was one divine irony in this saga of riches and rule. John's papacy met its end amidst rumors of a simplicity-driven antipathy towards this accumulation. Perhaps a poetic reminder to you that no matter how much wealth we gather, we end up leaving worldly concerns behind. And so, as you nestle into the warm embrace of your covers, contemplating the quirks of these predecessors, the gentle rhythm of night continues its serene caress. The worldly riches ebb and flow, as does your breathing, gradually slowing into the familiar cadence of restfulness, where dreams gather like stars in the clouds of imagination, whispering you to peace. In the next twist of our nocturnal journey, you meander into the tumultuous timeline of the papal landscape dominated by Pope Anacletus II. It's like stepping into a historical blender, a time when two popes were apparently better than one. The papacy felt less like a singular spiritual leader and more like your family's group chat when everyone's got a different opinion on what to have for dinner. Picture it, the 12th century. Rome is bustling with merchants, pilgrims, and endless politics, echoing chaos like ephemeral fireworks, illuminating your favorite summer festival on repeat. That's when Anacletus II emerged, or rather, doubles as the head honcho in a period known quaintly as the Schism. Anacletus and his rival, Pope Innocent II, both claimed divine rule over the Latin Church, essentially the medieval version of a tangled TV remote situation when someone refuses to relinquish control of channel surfing. What drove Anacletus to this controversial prominence? Historians point to both legitimate support and backdoor dealings that could rival any clandestine ops we love to speculate about today. This led to a split in the church, where allegiances fluttered like the many fruitless attempts you've made at adulting, only to find that sometimes peace rests firmly in the chaos of compromises. Now, here's a quirky vanishing point of devotion. Despite what one might assume, Anacletus wasn't universally reviled or revered. To some, he was the lesser of two evils in an era where perception reigned as much as faith. Think about choosing between staying in bed or hitting snooze for another precious 9 minutes of dream-chasing bliss. Historians still argue which pope rightly held the higher ground, whether Anacletus was more deserving of the title while his rival wielded a more mainstream acceptance. Like an unsolvable jigsaw, the pieces never quite fit snugly, leaving thinkers of yester epochs continuously scratching their heads. Ultimately, power reconciled itself with reality posthumously when Anacletus II died. The schism healed itself like a minor rift, patched with a flourish, much like you'd close that many-tab browser session in your mind once and for all. As you let the night's gentle sway cradle you in unseen arms, Anacletus's legacy elicits the waves of time gently rocking your thoughts into slumber. The tales hum with echoes from within history's deepest crevices, drawing you into the folds where the weight of divine disputes lightens into the gossamer of dreams, and the world silently dips into the comforting embrace of timeless peace. Your journey through the whispering winds of history now leads you to one of the juiciest chapters involving Pope Sergius III and what historians like to call the Marozia affair. It's a tale that's less confession and more medieval daytime drama, as tangled and compelling as a season finale you can't help but binge watch. Imagine walking into a Rome that simmers with intrigue. The city around you hums with the buzz of rumor. Stories that weave through the crowd like whispers among conspirational shadows, touching everyone from the humble baker to the powerful noble swaying beneath the Vatican's expansive tapestries. Sergius III was a pope caught in a scandalous swirl involving the infamous noblewoman Marozia. Try picturing your modern scandal. It's got everything: rich families, power plays, and the kind of whispered rumors that could light up any newsfeed. Marozia, the strong-willed daughter of a prominent family, held more sway than a seasoned talk show host offering up audience giveaways. Her influence over Sergius wasn't just whispered, but shouted from the proverbial rooftops. Whether it was love, politics, or a bit of both, is a tangled narrative you'd opt to unravel on a rainy afternoon with a steaming mug of something warm. Here's a quirky note. It's even alleged that Sergius fathered a future pope, John the Saint, with Marozia. Talk about taking family dynamics to a level that's less, my dad's cooler than your dad, and more, my dad's wearing the triple tiara. Modern life struggles may bring you the odd familial misunderstanding, but Sergei and Marozia, they brought it to a whole different court, and not the tennis kind. Historians still find themselves in heated debate over whether Sergius was truly enamored by Marozia's charm, or if he was merely a pawn in a broader game of noble house politics. Meanwhile, rumors swirl with timeless persistence, much like any long-abandoned online forum thread, coursing with theories nobody remembers starting. The reality remains that Marozia's influence helped pave the way for family members to ascend various clerical and noble ladders, somewhat in the way that being tagged in a photo at a significant event suddenly opens up career prospects you'd never see coming down a hallway. As your thoughts drift, the realm of power plays concedes to the soft quietude of the night. The abstract echoes of Sergius's life brush gently over your resting eyes, like wind-tossed leaves whispering secrets of devotion, coiling around dreams. They leave you soothingly adrift on the warm tides of sleep, where the tales of old meld into the gentle patter of raindrops against your sleep-conscious mind, serenading you into dreamy layers of rest. As the tapestry of time unfolds yet again, you wander into the intricate story of Pope Urban VI, a character at the heart of one of the Church's most profound puzzles. His election was like hitting the jackpot in a game you're not quite sure you want to be playing. The world he navigated was full of intrigue and tension, the kind you feel when you've accidentally clicked reply all instead of reply. Urban Fisk's papacy began with high hopes and a breath of fresh air. He promised reforms that sounded good on parchment, yet quickly turned contentious, like opening a message thread you knew would be spicy. Urban's attempt at shaking up the clergy was less a gentle nudge and more a forceful shout. His method, unyielding and often rhetorical, as if trying to convince a room full of skeptics on the merits of your latest playlist. But maybe his overzealous ambition got the better of him. The once supportive cardinals grew wary, their whispers louder than the noise of your morning alarm set on max, each tremor creating friction rather than harmony. Pretty soon, grievances inspired their own renegade faction, leading to the infamous Western Schism. Two popes, rival courts, and a church divided, like rival universities in heated debate on a national stage. Now, here's a touch of odd history. Some of Urban's critics alleged he took to punishing detractors, with enthusiasm better left to medieval roleplay. There are stories about him locking up cardinals, and, supposedly, getting a bit too creative with his reprimands. It's the kind of fervor that leaves you wondering if sleep deprivation featured strongly in his papal routine. Historians still argue with gusto over whether Urban Sisi's intentions were pure reformist ambition gone awry, or simply a man in over his head, reacting harsher than needed, leading a trail of chaos in the wake of papal politics. Imagine pressing shuffle on an untested playlist and realizing some tracks just don't blend as harmonically as you'd like. They clashed rather than twined. As the night stretches, wrapping its gentle embrace around you, Urban's story fades into the cozy shadows, a testimony to ambition caught in the crossfire of its own pursuit, with the hum of your resting thoughts as a backdrop. The narrative quietly slips into the idle whispers of dreams, reassuring you with a familiar sense of tranquility. The stories lull you toward the soft repose of slumber, each moment warmly spun with the solace of an ever-present history, lingering as you drift deeper into the land of Nod. Through the gentle haze of sleep, you find yourself wandering into the whispered echoes of Pope Boniface VIII's time, a period that mixed ambition with an audacious tilt more grandiose than your most exaggerated daydream. Picture this: late 13th century Rome, where power jostles with vigor, like alleyway vendors debating over market placements. Boniface VIII wasn't just any pope. He was the one who decided that papal authority was so supreme. Settling disputes should take things to a level even your friend notorious for playing judge and jury in every group chat couldn't approach. His bull, Unam Sanctum, declared the exhaustive reach of papal supremacy. To outsiders, it felt like the adulting equivalent of claiming all the remote controls in a shared house as solely yours. Boniface, standing tall in the drama of his pontificate, was embroiled in tension with King Philip IV of France. Their conflict akin to an epic duel where neither side was prepared to concede the virtual throne. Politics, revenue battles, and the ever-elusive discourse over who sent what and where. It was all more heated than your argument with tech support about untangling cable issues. Quirky anecdote for you. During his reign, acts of disputations were sometimes fiercely intimate, with squabbles echoing hotly in the grandeur of the Vatican's inner sanctum, like whispers of hidden tales you stumble upon while exploring a mystery-laden library. The audacity of Boniface often mirrored modern equivalents of typing up lavish emails with unsent drafts on contentious office tropes. Historians still lean into lengthy discussions, wondering if Boniface was too ahead of his time, blurring divine ambitions beyond political seams, or simply a stalwart of church-centric power not prepared to yield any turf. As philosophically compelling as late-night queries Googled after 2 a.m., the arguments conjure thoughts over ecclesiastical balance. Finally, Boniface's story meets a tumultuous end when he was captured in Anagni during a crisis where plans unwound like earbuds in your pocket, somehow more knotted than initially imagined. His papacy closes with the inevitable resignation of divine threads, leaving behind an intriguing ripple still felt through the ages. As you nestle back, blankets cascading warmth over sleepy limbs, Boniface VIII's contentious era lingers gently, drifting into the familiar cadence of nightly winds as they whisper lullabies, nestling you further into serene repose. Dream softly, where forgotten whispers cross paths with the melody of rest, cradled by the night drawing you into its timeless embrace. As the lull of night carries you further, your imagination takes you into the reverberations of Pope Alexander III's tumultuous journey. A saga where resolve and conflict tangle in a waltz more dramatic than the ups and downs of your Wi-Fi signal on a stormy night. Picture the 12th century, where politics, disputes, and alliances create a world frequently outperforming even the most tangled of reality TV plot lines. Alexander III, a pope embroiled in the throes of schism, arbitrated disputes that layered complexity onto the simplest of medieval menus. Much like juggling one too many social commitments, his time as pope saw everything from fierce opponents to steadfast allies bubbling to the surface. One of his significant disputes was with King Henry II of England, leading to a famous feud that echoed across the lands more kinetically than a virus-laden meme. Step into the corridors of power, where whispered deals and tentative treaties have all the intensity of your inbox when deadlines are looming. Think of Alexander III standing firm, his perseverance akin to squeezing half a desk into a one-cup coffee machine space. Here's an interesting little anecdote. Despite the tumult around him, Alexander III held the papal throne for over 2 decades. Coin from the impressive tenure collection, right next to unread notifications you ponder with nostalgic wonder, uncertain whether to delve into or dismiss. Historians still debate whether his ability to outmaneuver adversaries was honed by sheer will or if fortuitous circumstance played a part. Was Alexander simply paving roads smoother than you drifting down a scenic drive, taking in a postcard view sunset? It's not a straightforward question to untangle, much like your attempts to successfully organize the cables beneath your desk. In the end, Alexander III emerged from the clouds of upheaval, securing prestige for the papal office, casually brushing the chaos from his robes as one shakes off an overly awkward social blunder when bumping into someone at the grocery store you'd just rather not interact with today. As the echo of his legacy fades gently, imagine the rich fibers of history curling around the quiet room, each echo carrying night's whispers back to a silent world. You rest in the tender embrace of understanding, setting sail onto the gentle tides of sleep, where the world's concerns slip tenderly into the background, silhouettes in the moonlit tapestry of dreams. As the gentle night nudges you into deeper reverie, your journey drifts toward the compelling narrative of Pope Innocent VIII and his intricate tapestry of nepotism. Imagine cradling cozy ambition like a midnight snack kept secret for a special occasion. Innocent VIII loved family connections, perhaps more than most. Step back into the 15th century and envision the Vatican as less a solitary fortress and more a bustling court where family names jostled for prominence like weekend sale shoppers in a crowded mall. Innocent VIII took the helm in 1484, weaving a network of relatives into high-ranking positions with ease. It wasn't just about steering the ship, it was about ensuring the crew was all invited to Thanksgiving as well. Innocent wasn't shy about employing the papal name to buffer his kin's career aspirations. You could say he was the original LinkedIn influencer, one whose endorsements carried more weight than typical casual connections. The papal court became an assemblage of familial camaraderie, alliances tighter than night owl friendships, bound by many an AM text. Here's a quirky side note. Innocent VIII was instrumental in arranging the marriage of his son to a Medici, a name as golden through Renaissance Italy as those top-tier coffee shops when you're in the middle of nowhere and desperate for a caffeine fix. Yet scholars still musically debate whether Innocent's nepotism was the result of genuine reliance on trusted kinship or simply out of political necessity, a dance infinitely more complicated than deciding which series deserves the next chunk of your viewing time. Maybe it was a confluence of the age-old struggle to sustain influence masked behind familial solidarity, one warm embrace embroiled in a sea of ambitious fervor. Innocent the Eighth managed to navigate these stormy channels, though with whispers aplenty about his doings, like an unread newsletter in your inbox, promising more than it evidences. By the time he passed away in 1492, the papacy had shifted from mere governance to crafting a tighter familial enclave, setting a path for forthcoming ecclesiastical dynasties. As the story spirals into the quilt of night, you're wrapped back into your own familial warmth, a touchstone through which the stories of history drift. You ease into soft sedation, where Innocent's generational legacies intertwine with the whispers of your dreams, leading you into the calm cradled by the fabric of timeless tales, held by the sure embrace of the sleeping night. In the dimly lit corridors of history, you're guided to the quirky conundrums of the papal past, reaching out to an era where whispers of peculiar musings danced around the highest echelons of faith and power. Imagine navigating through the folds of time to find yourself amidst tales where papal bulls might as well have been penned by dreaming penguins. Yes, tonight, we're snugly traveling to the oddities that linger quietly in dusty Vatican vaults and whimsical recesses of history. You've heard of official decrees and lofty rescripts, but some papal documents held anecdotes more hilarious than allowed you'd care to admit. Take, for instance, the tale of Pope Gregory IX and his infamous edict against cats. Yes, cats. If that surprises you, imagine how medieval cats probably felt. Going about their day, their antics resulting in anathematized status by decree, blamed collectively for various misfortunes. It's the medieval wrong place, wrong time, with feline scapegoats at its heart, wandering like outcast companions in a peculiar tapestry nobody imagined weaving. This little-known edict launched countless myths and scholarly discussions into gear. Did cat aversion contribute to exacerbating the Black Plague by letting the real culprits, rats, roam with less predatory deterrence? Historians argue whether such narratives are factually robust or merely embellished interpretations upon scribed misunderstandings. Either way, it makes for a curious story nestled in the annals of complex history, much like forgotten items in coat pockets, rediscovered only when least expected. Another quirky papal tidbit lies around Pope Sylvester II, a figure swathed in association with legends of prowess in the mystical arts. As the story goes, his intellectual ventures led to inventions so advanced for his time that myths of dealings with ethereal forces swirled about him. An idea as wild as showing up for a meeting in pajamas, because you forget it wasn't virtual this time, tinkering with astronomical gadgets and whatnot. Sylvester II remains one of those dreamlike historical figures you could spend an eternity trying to fully understand. These tales, they remind you how even the grandest figures have endured quirks and oddities that tickle historical fancy, seeding smiles as you tuck back into your own cocoon of warm thoughts. The papal stories float gently, like dreams scattered across star-filled skies, each glimmering with soft absurdity and whimsical charm. Magic dreamscapes guiding you softly toward deep, restful slumber, where knowledge and imagination sing lullabies in time's endless night. As your thoughts sway between dreams and history, the narrative stream drifts onto one last delightful recollection, a tapestry woven with remnants of papal oddities that tickle imagination while lulling senses into serene repose. Picture the legacy of these popes as a masterful, if somewhat awkward dance through corridors lined with both sacred echoes and laughter-inducing footnotes. Ever wonder what happens when the Pope has just a bit too much spare change? Enter the tale of Pope Leo X, whose penchant for lavish expenditure wasn't just limited to arts, it extended to outright amusement. There's an anecdote that never fails to invite a chuckle. Leo was known for keeping a pet elephant named Hanno. Yes, a real elephant that made quite a splash in Renaissance Rome, where such sights were as perplexing as finding a stranger's tab still open on your laptop. Hanno's arrival in Rome became an extravagant spectacle. But as goes with extravagance, the elephant's presence didn't escape bureaucratic musings and light controversies. Something even your spirited pal, who always goes overboard with party planning, could relate to. The tale of Hanno wraps itself like a cozy trivia tidbit, a nod not only to Renaissance whimsy, but the enduring nature of human lightheartedness, glossed with the spices of spontaneity. Another nugget from the folds of papal history concerns the curious calendar adjustment known as the Gregorian Reform. Pope Gregory XIII's calendar correction, in effect since 1582, erased about 10 days from that year. Imagine waking up to find nearly a fortnight gone. Like scrolling endlessly through digital galleries, you'd swear just ate half your afternoon. Scholars still muse at truly quantifying this adjustment's human ripple effects, eyes wrinkling gently at the years lost, yet gained in something now taken for granted. In the labyrinth of history, where even the smallest quirks become imprinted on the leading of time, the papacy has left multifaceted impressions. Historians still survey this wide web, unraveling tales with gravitas or whimsy, forever debating the scholarly conundrums that wade deeper than fleeting distractions on a quiet night. As night folds into tighter embrace, these stories dissolve into a soothing lull, much akin to gentle rain, coaxing leaves from restless to serene. With each cascading breath, the buzzing echoes subside into that quiet realm, where day's concerns slip softly into darkness, your heart cradled by history's tender curiosity, whispering its fragile secrets in tranquility and comfort. So, drift further into the heart of dreams, nestled in the gentle glow of endless time, where papal fables hum, ursine lullabies, playing softly through the hushed silence.